Good afternoon. I'm Tom Venable, Superintendent of the Methow Valley School District and a proud member of WASA. As one of two candidates for the position of WASA's president-elect, I'm truly humbled and honored to stand alongside Dr. Randy Russell, Executive Director Bill Keim, members of the WASA staff and board, and each of you. Recognizing we're standing on the shoulders of giants, I also want to take a brief moment and acknowledge past President Dr. Frank Hewins, current President Dr. Lois Davies, and President-elect Dr. Steve Webb. I'm confident I speak on behalf of all of us when I say thank you for your unparalleled commitment to service and advocacy in support of our schools and districts. In thinking about my own journey and those who've supported me in different points along the way, I'm reminded of a moment in time, 22 years ago, almost to this day. A product of the Kent and Highline Public Schools and a first-generation college student and graduate of Western Washington University and the University of Maryland, I had just completed my second year of teaching, serving as a special education teacher in the Baltimore City Public Schools, when I received a phone call. The call was from a close friend who had called to inform me that the Bellingham Public Schools had posted an elementary teaching position. One of 250 applicants, 56 of whom were selected for an interview, I was fairly confident as I walked into the interview that I had no chance. However, midway through the interview, I happened to look to my left, and in doing so, observed the principal of Alderwood Elementary. I won't mention names, but Adrian Nelson leaned over and whispered to another member of the interview team, "He's mine." Shortly following the interview, I made a collect call to my mom. She asked, "How did it go?" I said, "I think it went pretty well. I either have a job, a date, or both." Turns out what I received was something more than I could have ever imagined, an exceptional leader and a lifetime mentor. Much like Vera Abrams Newton, principal of the Glenmount School in Baltimore City, Adrian Nelson was what many would refer to as an equity warrior, a transformative, equity-driven leader who worked tirelessly on behalf of all students to remove barriers, both economic and perceived, to cultivate hope in the face of despair, and to facilitate capacity, focused on breaking the cycle of generational poverty that plagued the Alderwood community. Fortunate to have worked with such exceptional leaders early in my career, I also found myself confronted and challenged, confronted by my own privilege and challenged by the realities faced by the many students and families we serve as public educators. As school and district leaders, you're all too familiar with these challenges. Take, for example, Sharon. Born addicted to meth, she lost her mother to a heroin overdose at the age of 9. She bounced around from one foster care home to another, eventually finding herself homeless and no longer attending school. Or maybe it's Miguel, bright-eyed, curious about the world and how it works. Miguel was born into a family of migrant workers. Miguel entered kindergarten speaking very little English and with no prior preschool experience. He was quickly referred for special education services. Or maybe then again it's Patricia, formerly known as Patrick. Patricia was kicked out of her house by the age of 14. She's attempted suicide multiple times and doesn't have access to counseling in the rural, remote community that she resides. While their names may be different, their stories are not uncommon. From one district to another, you know them well. In spite of these complex and diverse challenges, we are making a difference in the lives of our youth. How? Through the courageous leadership displayed by each of you in this room. Schools and districts, large and small, challenging perceptions and initiating strategies that open doors within each of your respective communities. Some examples include school districts who are eliminating course fees, supply fees, pay-to-play fees, and the many enrichment fees that serve as economic barriers for the many students and families that we serve. School districts who are investing in their youngest learners, ensuring all children enter kindergarten with the academic and social and emotional readiness skills needed to be successful. Schools and districts who are implementing personalized competency-based approaches to teaching and learning, supported by the State Board of Education, driven by student interests and passion. Schools and districts who are partnering with the business community to initiate innovative and flexible forms of teaching and learning, supported by the integration and application of industry standard technology. Schools and districts who have established family and community resource centers, given its academic, social and emotional, and long-term economic benefits. Schools and districts who've developed coherent instructional frameworks, emphasizing exceptional teaching and learning in every classroom, aimed at closing the achievement gap. Strong partnerships cultivated by schools and districts supporting authentic, real-world, community-based internships. And ongoing community-wide efforts to cultivate compassionate, trauma-informed schools, whole child initiatives, and restorative practices. Indeed, exceptional work is taking place in our schools and districts throughout the state of Washington, and it starts with you. Speaking of courageous leadership, I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge our state legislature and their repeated failure to fully fund the true cost of a free and appropriate public education, an investment in our youth that ensures the long-term sustainability of a healthy, inclusive, democratic society. We face many barriers, one of which should not include our own state elected officials. If elected, you can anticipate that I'll work within the WASA framework of leadership, trust, and advocacy to promote the development of transformative, equity-driven leaders, to work closely with our elected officials, to invest in the 1.1 million students, their families, and the communities that we serve, to tell our story, ensuring our story is known by all, and to promote a system of equity and excellence for all. 295 school districts acting as one, working in partnership with our schools and communities to ensure every student in the state of Washington can truly shine. Thank you for all you do.